going to do a live with Bonnie, the A coach, and she just told me that it was 11:11 at her in her time zone. Over here it's a little over 5 in the morning, so I'm going to invite her. Let's see. Yeah. We just were part of a panel for 3 hours, I suppose, with Zan the Man. And we talked about addiction, and it's such an interesting topic, but so much to talk about as well. And I really felt like I needed to vent a little bit on the topic because so much was discussed, and you can only talk about um, so little in even what seems 3 hours. So that's why I wanted to talk about it, because addiction is a very huge problem nowadays. And I suppose that's also a result of the time we actually live in. There's so much that's expected from us. There's so much stimuli around us, so much we are exposed to. Okay, Bonnie isn't there yet. You'll see when she comes on. Um, but it's we were talking about what comes first, whether it's something which is mentally, uh, so it's something in the brain. It's like chemically. Is it surrounding circumstances? And one of the things I actually got to think about was boredom. Have you ever considered boredom as a source for addiction? Especially the young ones out there. I mean, I don't know how this else in the world, but here in the Netherlands, it's not that uncommon for the young ones who don't have anything to do to start drinking, binge drinking, before they actually go out, because it saves them money. And why do they binge drink? Because there's nothing else to do. So there's no distraction, there's no challenge, there's no fun. And well, that's, I believe that's a big problem. So but also we talked about celebrities. We talked about, for instance, Michael Jackson, but also the young ones out there. Zen mentioned Drew Barrymore too. And when you are exposed to the world of fame and the what we can consider would be a rush for most people, and then instead of um, being exposed to the normal things, but you are being exposed to Zen, to the rush. Well, that does something with a person, because what's your standard for
Actually, I want to come by and say hi to you.
But you're supposed to have dinner, Zen.
I know, but I picked up my phone and I saw that you were live. I gotta go say hi to her real quick.
Yeah,
So
I really need to talk about what you just discussed. I mean, the topic itself,
it's
it's so
deep.
so immense.
It's deep. I mean, we probably could have talked another 3 hours on. There's so much that we didn't even get to cover.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we barely scratched the surface, because this is something that human beings have been living with forever and will always live with. It's always going to be there. And different people are going to experience different addictions,
True.
you know? And the one that you're going through, or whoever's going through, that addiction is real to them.
Oh, absolutely. And it's like you said, when people are, exposed at a young age to certain things like being on a stage or being in a movie, that their way of what normal is being on that high. And
Totally
then there are the
different.
young people out here who are totally not experiencing anything interesting. So I didn't talk about it, but the binge
Yeah.
drinking over here is a major problem.
Well, binge drinking has been huge the world over. But remember they did a movie back in the 90s or 80s that was very popular about binge drinking in Europe. I forget the name of it now. It was very popular back in the 90s.
Well,
Um,
imagine that it was popular back in the 90s, and here we are in
yeah,
2021,
right.
and the young ones are still binge drinking.
Yeah, but over here in America, on college campuses, they do binge drinking all the time.
Yeah, but that's
You know,
where it starts. You know,
in
it
Ireland.
starts with the parents not either not knowing about
Oh,
it or
I
not
know the
taking
movie.
their
I
responsibility.
know. And Ireland is known for being big drinkers. The Irish. It was called Train Spotting.
Yeah.
Train Spotting was a very popular movie, and it was about those guys drink. Yeah. Anyways, look, I better go. I just want to stop in and say hi. Your contribution to the show is amazing. It's unique. It's and again, and thank you for what you were saying earlier, because you and I, we're good, but someone could always misconstrue stuff. But that's okay too, because things now are not always going to be always understood the first time. But then you explain yourself later. But again, for me, my job is to create the platform so that everyone can have a voice. And if something is misunderstood or misspoken or misread, then we're all human. We get a chance to come back and say, you know what? I apologize, or I changed my mind, or I have a whatever. Or that's just the way you feel. And that's okay too. You know?
Well,
Like,
that's what I love about the response videos. You know, there's so much that we get to discuss each time, and you give
yeah,
me so much input, and not just you, but also Bonnie, Terry when he's around, you know, Mary, all of them. So, and I cannot go to sleep,
oh
you
my
know,
God. Yeah, me too. Oh
when
my
all
God.
those things are going, you know, going on in my mind. So, like last Friday when I was actually falling asleep, that was pretty unusual.
Yeah.
But it's so interesting, and there's so much input going on, and especially when it comes to addiction, because um, I've talked to so many people who are suffering from addiction, whether it's to numb the pain, whether it's because of what's happening in their life right now, or because they don't know any better and they're exposed to it. That's, you know, there's so many reasons leading up to it.
Right.
And
Well, again, that's one of the things I wanted the show, first of all, be a community about better relationships and connections. But you get there by having conversations, by having these discussions. And if we don't have these discussions, then what? And sometimes you can get stuck into your own world. You need to be open to what other people think and other people feel. And even if you don't totally agree with it, it's okay. Like we talked about God tonight in Christianity. Somebody, oh, I don't believe in God. That's okay too. Or someone believes in a different God. That's okay too. And and what people believe today may not be what they believe 10 years from now. You know? And
yeah, you
so,
know, I told you I grew up a Catholic, and my mom was very spiritual, so she believed in reincarnation, whereas my father didn't. It was a no-go to even talk about it. So that was quite a mix-up. But in 2012, I had a pretty fierce discussion with someone, and as a result, I deconverted. But
yeah.
that's completely different story. And quite honestly, since it's your show, I don't want to disrespect Pastor Tory, because I believe that what he does and being out there is really for the greater good.
Right,
So
but he
that's when I hold back.
yeah, but no, but that's why he understands. When you're on my show, when you're on, your voice and your opinion is just as valuable. So you have to feel tough, like, oh my God, I don't want to say this because it may not fit right with him. I'm sorry, it doesn't matter. You're on my show, and I want to hear your point of view. I want to hear your opinion, because that perspective probably gonna work with somebody else who's watching the show. So it's the show is not Pastor Tori's show. Actually, to tell you the honest to God truth, it's not even my show. I get to go to the community. And you're part of the community, a very important part of the community. So your opinion, your feelings, your perspective matters. That's when Bonnie came on and she said, "This is my great." And look, I like Pastor Troy, but if he has a problem, he can leave. He can
Oh,
leave.
that's true. But
No,
I
no,
grew up with a lot of respect for
but
people
no, and let
who lead the church. So and that's
grown
not going to change ever.
no, a grown man, he can leave and come back another day, or leave and not come back. This show is for the community. The only one that can't leave is me.
Well,
But
the thing is
I,
that
I,
when it comes to religion, we are
I,
very different when it comes to religion in Europe, and especially in the Netherlands, compared to what I have perceived in the US.
I
So
everyone, because first and foremost, you're a human being. I respect women. I respect everyone. If someone could come on my show, you say, "Hey, I'm gay." Okay, let's talk about it. It's okay. And if someone doesn't like it, you have a choice. You can leave and come back later, or you can leave and not come back. It's okay. This show is for this. It's a community, and you have a community that's a variety of group. There's a variety of different individuals that make up that community. So in the future, actually, don't hold back. Share your opinion. I mean, if you get to the extreme, I can always mute you. I can remove you.
I noticed
I,
today.
I can I can ban you. I can do whatever I want to, but I value your opinion. And don't forget, you was there before Pastor Tori was there.
Yeah,
Okay.
but I still believe in first of all, right now you're on my IG live. Normally I'm in your YouTube live, and and also believe in respect. And I love that about your guidelines. And you always say that we need to be here respectful to one another. And by the way, I believe that that's true for all social media.
Yeah.
That we need to be respectful to one another. And of course, I also agree. My one word is hashtag inclusion. I want people to get that voice, and
But
especially those who do not dare to speak up, to
but
get their voice out there.
talking about when you say I'm going to hold back because he's Pastor Tori, then now you're not including. You're not being inclusive. You shouldn't have to feel left out. Include your point of view, and maybe he can learn from it. You follow me?
Well, we'll see tomorrow, Zan.
Yeah.
We'll see tomorrow.
Look,
It's
look.
you know.
Even to the here's your out. Even to the extreme, you can always go in the private chat and say, "Zan, can I discuss this?" And I'm gonna say yes. You follow me? Because
Yeah.
you're always respectful to everybody. You're a good person. You know, we all have our challenges. We all go through different things. But you're a good person. If you wasn't a good person, I wouldn't. I'm being honest. I wouldn't let you stay on the show. If somebody that's not a good person, they can't stay on my show. I don't care, because people show you who they are. And you've shown me, Bonnie showed me, you're good people. It's okay if we have different life experiences and different points of views. If a person's not a good person, I kick them off my show. And I have no problem with that whatsoever. But
I think what all this boils down to, bottom line, is intent.
Yeah.
True.
It has to do with the intent. Somebody makes a comment that feels somewhat out of line, we can talk about it.
Yeah.
What was the intent? What was
right?
And I think you have cultivated, well, I know you've cultivated a good group of people who all have good intentions, whose intention is to help as much as they possibly can. And every once in a while you get a knucklehead in the comment section that's self-serving and trying to disrupt things, and we boot them out like I did earlier today or this evening.
Thank you.
But for the for the most part, though, when you set that intention, even if you don't necessarily do it intentionally, but you come on, like I set intentions up front where I want things to go a certain way. I intend for it to go a certain way. I intend to be helpful. I intend to, provide value, all of those different things. I do that purposely. But all in all, everyone that we've had on the show so far that I remember, I think I missed the very first show. That was it. But on all of the other ones, at least in spirit, listening in the background in the dark, everyone has had good intention, and is open-minded, and those are the two key um, ingredients you really need to have a successful show like that, and to have a panel of people that come together and talk about really tough topics. Is, do they have good intention, and are they open-minded? And the
Yeah,
rest
yeah, and I
is
also,
kind of like
yeah, and I
like
would
I get super excited about certain things, like when you started talking about what the WebMD said, that really it proves my quote unquote theory, but at the same time, I almost didn't want that to be proven. I wanted to be proven wrong about that.
but, but Bonnie,
um,
but people need to hear that opinion because there's other people out there that agree with that opinion.
right, but I was really hoping that I wasn't going to find proof, especially on a site as big as WebMD, telling people that they can't cure depression.
Yeah,
That's sickening. That's harmful. It takes away the personal responsibility. Because honestly, think about it. You got doctors running around telling patients that they're not going to get back, like they're not going to get rid of their depression. You got a whole bunch of people who are going to be like, why the hell am I even going to try?
right.
Yeah, that's
If
true.
I can't do anything
Uh,
about this and I can't feel better, why
Well,
am I going to
that's
put any
why
effort into it?
that's why I said when I grew up, it was I talked a lot to my mom. We were, we talked for hours and hours, and she was a depressed one, being in this golden cage of fear. And then there's my dad, who was the total opposite. He would talk to just about anyone. He was fearless. I mean, he was a big guy, 6'6" tall. So, and he was as impressive as he was tall. And it wasn't until I was exposed to the world, the world beyond school, beyond being bullied, and being
yeah,
able to go and have trainings and talk to other people and work, that I realized, oh wait, I can look at things really differently. But growing up, I was really on the dark side of things. And then when
yeah,
I started to do personal development and also talk to other people, and they took me seriously as opposed to when I was still at school, that opened up a whole new world for me. So if I tell people that I'm actually, I used to be an introvert and I sometimes still am, I like to keep to myself, at times, not go to big parties. People often do not believe it because I can be exactly the opposite. But yeah, I do believe that it's how we look at things and how the perspective that we get offered,
yeah.
and that we get to think about, which can really change our lives. And well, on the show, I believe Bonnie brought up meditation. Did you
Yep.
bring up meditation? Well, that's one of those things, turning inwards, going silent, and actually, just be there with yourself and get to think about it. That's something that really helps to put a new perspective on things, because we can talk about it, but we also need the time to give it some time to process.
I'm gonna
A
get
lot of
going.
people are terrified of that, though. They don't want to turn inward.
I'm gonna get going, but Lady Lexi, please hear me on this. Um, you're on the show. I love your opinion. I love your perspective. I do not mind people having different opinions. I cover the show with compassion. If there's someone on the show that don't understand that, then I would tell them maybe this is not the right place for you, because here people can have different opinions. We can still be respectful. And one thing I would never allow, no one's going to be able to come on the show and curse somebody out or be rude or be mean. Oh, heck no. You'll see a different side of Zan the man. I would not allow that. I don't care if people disagree. I don't care, like, me and if people interrupt each other, it's not like you're interrupting for the sake of being disrespectful or being demeaning. Sometimes you get excited, passionate, and get your point out. I can moderate that, but no one's gonna come on my show and be disrespectful to you. Inclusion is important. So moving in the future, just you make Zen, Pastor Tori, Bonnie, Terry, Mary, they all have this point of view and they all agree. And my point is, Give it. It's okay because we love you the way you are. And if you have a point of view that we all don't agree, so what? Because there's times that we're gonna agree. There's times we're gonna. Me and Bonnie disagree, and I love Bonnie. You know, me and my wife disagree. I love my wife. Come on.
Well, you know, the reason why
we,
I'm a little careful, and for those who are watching and do not understand what we're talking about, Zen is going to have Pastor Tori talk about his book tomorrow.
oh,
I'm
that's,
not in, I forgot the title, but
I never felt that's gonna be a fun discussion. I don't know where it's gonna go, but I'm always thinking when I do interviews with people, I always want to respect the interviewee, but at the same time I want to get stuff out of the interviewee so that it benefits the audience. And so I just let magic happen. I know how to really good at doing that. So I'll find a way to make them feel comfortable, relaxed, and transparent and forthcoming, and we're all going to benefit from that conversation. But I'm going to get off here right now. I should have been. I shouldn't be. Anyways, but
continue to have dinner then.
but just know
And then we can go on about the addiction because
how much you're valued and appreciated, and thank you for being so respectful. But I never want you to ever feel like your point of view shouldn't be included, because inclusion is your word. You should never, don't ostracize yourself. Include.
oh, I'll be there tomorrow.
Yeah,
And if I really have a problem with it, I'll let you know in the private
yeah,
chat.
yeah, but include your point of view, because it's again, when you do your response videos and stuff, you can definitely let go then. But you're there, give it, you know, don't hold
Part of
back.
that too is that sometimes when you have a point of view that differs from all of the other people, you spark not only a conversation, but a thought process in somebody that prompts them to explore what you're talking about even further, and you're
Yeah,
helping enlighten those that are open-minded and willing to learn. Like the first thing I did when Pastor talked about his book, I'm not a religious person. I'm interested to know what he wrote, though.
yeah,
I'm interested to hear his viewpoints. Maybe I'll decide that that's something that I want to explore again. Like I said, I'm studying A Course in Miracles, which is based on Christianity. But my point is that, like Zan said, by not sharing, you're doing a disservice to all those people that may be looking for a direction and haven't found the right one for them yet. And maybe your direction is the right one for them. So,
so what your point of view might spark another conversation,
exactly.
you know,
Yeah,
because
well, it's like I said, I had a really very
go,
long and a very intense, in-depth discussion with someone
yeah,
about religion and also about spirituality.
but even we had that discussion about the five traits men love. In fact, you know, we had that discussion. We didn't agree on all those point of views. I can think I'm 100% right based on the world I live in and the people I've interacted with and the people I've interviewed and the things that men told me. And then you as a woman gonna have, oh no. And even you and Bonnie could disagree because you guys have different cultures, you know?
Yeah, you know, normally
And,
I won't refrain from giving my opinion, you
yeah,
know, the way I am and give input.
but
But there are some things which are, um, and I believe religion and faith is one of them, that can be a little bit tricky. And that's why
yeah,
I love you for coming here and saying please be included.
yeah.
So thank you for it. But like I
We're,
said, it's
we're,
not an easy topic.
Lady, we're the real deal. We don't put on no fronts. We're not faking. We're not phony. We're the real deal. Take it or leave it. This is who we really are. And I live this stuff. I don't just talk it and do it. I live it. So when I come on here and say this to you, I mean that. And again, if people don't like it, it's okay. My channel or the community will find the right people. They will come. And if it's not right for certain people, it's okay. Thank you for showing up. Bye-bye. I'm cool with that, you know.
Wait, do
So
the bye-bye for me. One more time.
I Thanks, bye, guys. I love
Bye
you.
bye.
Okay, have dinner. Enjoy.
Enjoy your dinner.
Thank
Well, I do appreciate it that you read the private chat, and I believe he was a little bit worried I wouldn't show up tomorrow. So I appreciate him coming on. But I really wanted to talk about the whole topic about uh, addiction because there's so much
Why
to
are you
it.
freaking out? Shut
And
up.
I was actually wondering about if there's one thing that really either got to you or you felt that was really important. What was it that you would like to share with people about the addiction?
Um, Honestly, it kind of goes back to the same basic concept for me with a lot of different things, and that the first step in any of these things is that decision to change. Because as we've all seen, I mean, there's even TV shows about it. You can't force somebody to change, you can't change for them, and if they're not ready, the changes that they've made to satisfy you are not going to stick. We've seen, they used to have a TV show, maybe it's still on, I don't watch TV anymore, but it's called Intervention, and they would have like the whole family and all the friends get together, and besides the fact that it was on TV and I didn't think that was a good idea, I feel like initially the parents and family members, like their intention was good. They wanted to help. They for a lot of different reasons, but because they know that the person is suffering. But unfortunately, um, those people weren't ready. A lot of them, weren't ready to make the change. A lot of them were because they felt that they had the support of their family, and maybe they didn't feel like that before the intervention. Um, but it's fairly well known in the personal development space that you can't change somebody else. You can't force
Yeah,
somebody else to
that's
change.
so
And if they
true.
change for you, there's a good chance that if you and this person are no longer in whatever relationship you are, even if it's a parent-child and you become estranged, that change kind of tends to go out the window. So it has to be your decision.
Yeah,
Um,
and that's true. And we of course often say that you have to hit rock bottom. But to my surprise, I've seen that when I think people are actually hitting rock bottom, they're still not hitting rock bottom, and it still can go on beyond it. And that's when the comparison was made to food addiction. I was a little bit like, yeah, okay, of course, it all starts with the choice. There's no doubt about it. And then there's what you exactly say. We can't make the choice for those people. They need to see that they need to change because otherwise life will, completely derail, whether um, it's because they want to take their life or whether it's because of other reasons. But when it comes to food, there's the difference between, okay, we're exposed to substances, um, and we can take responsibility because it was the difference between the choice and the responsibility for me. And I'm not going to say that it's easy for people to diminish their food intake. I mean, I'm a grazer, so if I'm really hungry, and the term hangry applies to me, I'll go like, and it can just be biscuits. It doesn't have to be much, but I'll just continue on until till the stomach says, okay, it's okay again, and that will be delayed. So I know better than that. I just don't get it in the house. That's my way
right.
to prevent it. But when it comes to people who are addicted because of mental issues, because of how they were brought up, because of circumstances they still might be experiencing, I believe that's a whole different ball game compared to uh, food makes me feel good or doing what we call therapeutic shopping. So there's this difference between needing a little boost of having endorphins, which by the way is the same as when working out. Normally you would get endorphins. I don't get them. I suppose you don't either because of our systems. For those who do not know, we are hypermobile. We have EDS, so things are a little bit different when it comes to us. Um, and there's always this thing, and that applies to top sport too. There's always this thing about doing a little some things too much. But when it really comes to circumstances, whether it's because of abuse or being exposed to other things, I mean, how many people aren't out there, parents who actually um, drug their kids to a certain point just to keep them in check or in line, or lover boys who do so, and when there's no one to regulate it, that's when things get really difficult for people to deal with, and especially an environment. And I will keep getting back to it. When you get into an environment, I mean, like recently, I was in Spain. Well, I go to downtown center, and I'm a huge Starbucks fan. I mean, I've got this one standing here, this one, and this one. So if you say something, I'm probably addicted to Starbucks, but I don't drink any alcohol or something or whatever. So I came there in this village. There are three bars over there. One of them is connected to an ice cream shop. The other one has all these different kinds of beers, and number three, well, it's just a bar. Anyway, after 7 o'clock, there's nothing. I wouldn't be able to get coffee or anything or tea for that matter. And so you're basically, I mean, the village exists of there's a jewelry store, there's this big Chinese, um, by lack of better words, bazaar, because it's not like about getting food over there, and then there's supermarket. So that's what do people go do there? They sit at the table and they drink booze all night long, get drunk because there's nothing else to do. So and I felt like that the emphasis about the surroundings wasn't should have been more on it's the surroundings that support you or can actually drag you down. And well, that's really what. And when Zen brought up the topic about responsibility, of course I agree with all of us have responsibility, just like all of us have a choice. But when it comes to addiction, it can it can be pretty hard to actually be able to make that choice, especially when there's a reason uh, for being addicted, whether it's brain issue or environmental reasons or whatever. So yeah, so that's what I really needed to vent about. So that was a little bit. So I don't know because I was wondering about how you were, when it came to choice and responsibility.
Um, so I mean, I think ultimately it's our personal responsibility, and we do have a choice. The problem is that um, or one of the problems anyways is people who find themselves in these situations don't really feel like they have a choice. And the whole idea of getting out of their environment, getting away from the people that they're doing these things with, um, a lot of them feel trapped. They don't know what to do, and unfortunately, um, even thinking about those kinds of things triggers the cycle of wanting to numb the feelings, and they go right back to the thing that works best for that they feel like, and um, or on the opposite of that, shopping addictions, and I mean, I guess it's sort of like numbing, but it's like a distraction, right? It's a
Yes.
distraction from what's going on. so they're kind of ignoring the feelings, if you will, instead of numbing.
Yeah. Well,
And
everything to not be aware of what's going on. Everything just to take your mind off of things. I mean, it's basically, every once in a while I say to people, we need to have an off switch in our mind, just to turn it off. Because I believe that's one of the reasons why either people start to numb themselves or basically kill themselves, just because they want to have that off switch. And when you don't know how to turn it on or turn it off, that's when we have a problem.
a lot of people aren't even aware that that's possible. Nobody
Yeah.
around them is doing these things. I was in that same situation. Um, and not, I was in the situation that where people around me had mental illness, got sick. Nobody, just like it said on that WebMD thing, people don't get better from this. Doctors are telling me you don't get better from this. This is the best things you're going to get. And um, when you don't have any other input, uh,
Exactly.
you you fully believe that. And then even when you get other input or other ideas or hear information, it seems completely unbelievable and like it can't possibly apply to you because everybody around you isn't doing that, isn't able to do that. And unfortunately, they get stuck in making the choice that they're not going to make a choice. Like they're making a choice by not making a choice, basically.
Yeah, it's the choice to
And
not do
they don't
something.
know where to go. And I mean, now things are a little different now with the internet. Um, I think that highlights or makes accessible the information to people, but it all again boils down to what they believe they're capable of, and most of these people don't believe that they're capable of anything else for whatever reason. Whether it was childhood trauma or stuff, parents that talked a certain way, or siblings, or a teacher that said something, or whatever the case was, they don't believe that they're worth changing and or that they can change, that that's possible for them, that feeling better is possible for them, because they've probably never experienced that in their lives and never witnessed anybody else experience that either. So although I believe, yes, it's a personal responsibility, um, I understand how difficult it is to start to assume that responsibility, to take that back for yourself, especially if nobody around you is doing it.
Well, that's it. It is like what you say, when you're fed certain information, and you know there's more out there, that's when you can actually make a conscious choice, because that's what it's about. It's about basically about fear. Fear of the unknown, fear because you don't know any better. And when it comes to indoctrination and um, being basically conditioned to do certain things, which of course when we are a child is easily embedded in our minds. Well, try and change it, and you can only change it when people take the time and the effort to show you differently. And of course, then it's still, do you want to change? But yeah, it's very difficult to make a choice when you don't know there is an actual other choice out there. So and that's what, when I was in Spain, it really got to me. I was looking at it and I was like, whoa, and people consider it normal. And it's like I said, binge drinking over here, for the young people over here, simply because there's nothing to do. Yeah, it's the same thing. It's the way that, well, and also what I really believe is, when we were growing up, that was pre-technology, IT technology, I mean. So we grew up with playing outside, with a phone, and hopefully you could call someone. There was no satellite television back then. I mean, it came into existence when I was growing up. I mean, internet, that was a whole different ball game. But I always make the comparison that when I started working, there was still someone who brought the coffee and the tea at say 10:30 and at 3 o'clock. And there was this lady who would look at what we would have written down, and she would read the letters, and then she would mail them from us. And as to nowadays, we are required to do everything and anything. So it doesn't matter. We have to be good at so many things on so many levels. And then getting that input with the social media and whatever we see. And if we don't have someone to talk to, how do we put things in perspective? And honestly, that's one of the things I do like about homeschooling. We don't have it here in the Netherlands, but from what I have seen when it comes to homeschooling, and there's specifically one friend, she's called Jenna, and I've seen her do it. I've seen her talk to her son, and he's a wonderful kid. He's 21 by the way, so I can't say he's a kid anymore. But it's difficult in this time and age because I get the impression that a lot of young people actually need to raise themselves and educate themselves because the parents are just not around or not aware of what's going on and what they're watching and seeing. And personally, that's why I love one of those shows, One Chicago, which is about the Chicago Fire and Chicago PD, because it does get into addiction and adults getting addicted because of pain or injuries and how difficult it is to get away from it. But yeah, it's all about what are you exposed to and what are you being fed. And of course, there are also always the exceptions out there. I mean, I have been drinking it a little bit, but I never liked the taste of it. So when I had my first burnout, that's when I started drinking Baileys on the rocks. I couldn't fall asleep. You were talking about chaos earlier, and I had to put on the television, watch television, and get the Baileys. Then I would fall asleep, which is, of course, totally absurd. And nowadays, as a coach, I can say to people, like, okay, when you're doing this, know what you are doing. And the fact that people are not uh, used to being silent or in silence, like you said, being used to a chaotic environment, that basically says a lot. And nowadays, I used to really need the loud music around me and also in the car. But nowadays, when I go and I put it on, I'll be a maniac on the road. So I don't do it. I know myself. I get hyper, I get jumpy, I get full of adrenaline. I start tapping on the steering wheel, and I don't have what we call a velvet foot on the gas pedal. So, I might change in this person I do not want to be because I want to be
Right.
considerate of people and I want to be respectful on the road. But I do know that depending on what's happening, so not sure why I got there with the coronal. Oh yeah, it was about being chaotic and silencing myself. And nowadays, I'm used to listening to certain podcasts about personal development, but I will also just turn off all the stuff just to write things down and that's why I wanted to do this video too, because I really needed to um, dump all this, to get
Mhm.
it like, okay, let's get back to normal again. What did we talk about? Emotions were high for me. That's me. I always go like I'm a hyper person, and I said it on the chat, on the private chat, but I didn't say it on the show. I'm one of those persons with ADHD. I've got this
Mhm.
huge H, as in I'm immensely hyper. So at some point, I tried a number of medication, and the fact that Ritalin, which is supposed to be an upper, is actually getting me down. actually tells that I am a person who suffers from ADHD. Because it works the other way around. So I can drink like
Right.
7 cups of coffee, which I don't, but I can do it, and I can still sleep. I can be at a festival, a metal festival. I can sit in broad daylight near fans, and I can still fall asleep, which is my downfall too. Because at the end of the day, when the sun is shining, and I'm stuck in a traffic jam, I'll fall asleep behind the wheel. So then I need to park the car. But you get my drift, and I was a little bit. I would have liked to talk a little bit about that part as well, but yeah, everyone has different reactions to those chemicals. So, but the responsibility versus choice things that really got me a little bit triggered because I know it's when we would say that it's easy, I I believe that we would do a disservice to certain people out there because
Oh
it's
yeah, I never said it was easy.
no, I don't.
It's
I
not
no, I know.
easy. It's so there's a difference between simple and easy. And the idea, the concept of making a choice is simple, but it is by no means easy to do that. And then the follow through
Yeah,
is even
stick to
more
it.
difficult depending on how severe and how long you've had the addiction and what it is you're addicted to. That's why I was talking about the M&Ms, and I know people kind of scoff at that. Sugar is a serious addiction. I don't care what
Absolutely.
anybody says. My body has a fairly quick adverse reaction to too much sugar. I haven't cut it completely out of my diet, and this is one of those times during the month where I allow myself to have a little more than normal. But um, I eat my M&Ms one by one because I know that if I eat them by the handful, within about 10 minutes my heart will start racing, and because I don't typically eat sugar like that, and um, then joints and everything start to swell, and I have a reaction to it. But it took that's how you know you still um, here's the thing, because the negative or the adverse reaction to me is so strong and comes so quickly, it makes it easier for me to say no to those things that I know are going to cause a problem. It doesn't make it foolproof. Like, I definitely ate, my husband brought donuts home the other day, and I definitely ate a whole donut, and I definitely paid for it the next day. But that just shows you how strong even a sugar addiction is.
Oh,
Because
absolutely.
I won't seek the stuff out. Like, I won't go get it for the most part. I don't leave the house actually, so I don't anymore. But well, except to go to the bus stop. I don't go out in like public. I haven't been to a store since last March, like last March.
Hmm.
Um, but when stuff comes in, I almost have to be hyper vigilant because I'll grab something without thinking, and before I know it, it's like, oh crap, I shouldn't have eaten that. But um, I think it. Well, I know it makes it easier to be in an environment where um, you're not having those things put in front of you, because if that
Yes.
stuff doesn't come in the house, I'm not, like I said, I'm not going out and finding it. And the same is for um, alcohol and these other things. And I, like I said, I know it's not easy, but the idea is simple. Um, Unfortunately, this stuff is so easy to access, whether it be alcohol or drugs, that um, if your addiction is serious enough, you're going to go out of your way to find whatever it is that
True.
you feel that you need. People do some pretty uh, messed up things to get their drug of choice, and um, that's when it goes from just being, or at least in my opinion, it goes from just being an addiction to a full-blown mental illness crisis where you're doing things that, are illegal or harmful to other people just to feed your addiction. And
Yeah,
that's
I
a whole
agree.
other conversation for another day.
Yeah,
Um,
but it starts with being exposed to it, and the
mhm.
first moment you're exposed to it, it's not that bad. It's not that bad straight away. It's when something is going on in your life or in your mind, and then you get exposed to it, and it flips that switch, and you
Well,
think,
yeah, because it makes you
oh,
feel better. Yeah,
exactly.
exactly.
And going back to the sugar rush, a lot of young people, but also adults, they drink those energy drinks, and they really
Oh,
they
those are
really
horrible.
do not realize that their sugar levels go up, and once it goes up, your body wants to regulate it, so it brings it down again. So then they feel sluggish, and then they start drinking again to get it back up again. And that's it's going basically from one thing to another one. And it's like what you said was I get what you say when it comes to M&Ms. For some reason, I'm one of those few out there who hardly ever eat chocolate. I just don't do it, and I don't want it. And if I see substances like candy, which is green or whatever it is, I'll stay away from it. And probably that's because uh, of the ADHD, which probably triggers it. So and part of me loves it when I'm really jumpy and when I'm really high on adrenaline because I'm in a rush, and part of me just hates it because when it comes to responsibility, it's very hard to keep myself in check, and that's why I
Yeah.
don't like it. And after that, I'm always tired. You can count on it. So yeah, I guess that's when someone is really past that stage and has realized what it does for him or her, calm them down, numb them. Yeah, then it gets hard to really quit doing it. And that's why I love the fact that over here you do not get treatment unless you also have a place to go to afterwards where they prevent you from getting the stuff, even if, and that's a big if, it really works. And because I've seen the opposite too, and that's really saddens me. And then there's always this thing about some people say you need to have people make a choice. So if you take away everything, then they can never make that conscious choice to say, okay, I'm exposed to it, but I'm not going to use it. You know,
Right.
find balance.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Anyway, you were, I think you were sleepy, but
Yeah,
I
I need to
really,
go to bed because I've got to
yeah.
get up
So
early
I
to get
really
there.
appreciated that you came on here just to talk a little bit about it. I'm going to sleep too. So thank you for brainstorming with me a little bit,
You're
and
welcome.
have a good sleep
Thank you. You too. I will see you,
tomorrow.
tomorrow,
Yeah,
I guess.
yeah, for me later tonight. Yeah, that's tomorrow
Later
too.
tonight. Okay. Okay. All right. I'll see you soon.
Okay, bye
Bye-bye.
bye. Yeah, I just want to say a big thank you to everyone who watched. Again, this was about being part of the panel. Bonnie and I are part of the panel of Sander Mens YouTube Live. He has all these different topics what he's talking about. But addiction, we talked about it for like 3 hours. And I've seen so much. I've talked to so many people, and um, yeah, all I want to say is if you think or you have an addiction and you know it when you need it, non-stop, or you grab for it whenever something really emotional has happened. And then I'm not talking about, uh, getting something sweet just for a second. But I'm talking about popping up one beer can after another, or keep eating food. It's the constant repetition. Then you know that something is not right when you feel that need to numb yourself, to turn that switch off. Um, Go talk to other people, find support, and know that you're not on your own. And um, you know, you can always hit me up, and we can always do a live, or you can send me a DM, because I want you to know you're not on your own out there. So it's 6 in the morning here. So I'm going to wave goodbye before there's light here again, and I'll talk again soon.